Like I actually asked the lab tech the other day because I did like a bunch of hormone testing and I was like, hey, just out of curiosity, like, is there a certain day that we're supposed to pull like our sex hormones if we're a female? And she was like, yeah, I don't even know. And I was like, wow, imagine like that's what you do for a living. It's like jab people and take blood and like you don't even know. So again, just know if you have a menstrual cycle, there's specific days. I'm still going to refer you back to, I love following people like Dr. Laura Bryden. I love following people like Dr. Jolene Brighton. Both of them have big, extensive blogs. Both of them put out free educational content just like I do, but on Instagram, it's specific to women's health. So they're going to tell you, hey, these exact days of your cycle, this is when you need to go be testing. Because the reason for that is, with our menstrual cycle, there's often recommendations depending on what we're looking at. Sometimes you want to pull labs at the beginning. So like day 3 of your cycle, basically 3 days after you're like just started your period. For most instances, we're actually looking kind of like that 19 to 21 day of cycle because we're trying to see, did I produce progesterone? Did I ovulate? But that gets tricky because maybe you're somebody that you have a little bit longer cycle, you have a little bit longer period, or maybe
you're
you have
on
a shorter
hormonal
period,
birth control,
or you're on birth control, or this and that. Because again, if you're on birth control, there's no point in checking your hormones. Like you can check you can check your thyroid, you can check your free and total testosterone, but your hormones are overridden, and that's the point. So just again, it's like this is where we need to have an all-star doctor that's like, hey, you're going to go in on X date. This is what you're going to pull. But the other labs that you could be going in to investigate would be your LH, your FSH. We would want to look at your estrogen, your progesterone, free and total testosterone. A side note, I want to do a podcast on free and total. I actually know a really rad interview that we could do with somebody that like loves nerding out on that side of things. I actually know a couple of people and I want to bring them on as guests.
What, testosterone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So double check your free and total testosterone, DHT, DHEA, especially if you're like dealing with a lot of like acne, cystic acne stuff. That's when you want to start checking all those androgens and look at your testosterone levels, your DHT, DHEA. A really big one is check your sex hormone binding globulin levels. This is huge because it's basically an asshole in your body. Sex hormone binding globulin, it basically abbreviates to SHBG. Think of it basically as if you were out at the club, you're trying to like pick up a hot girl, a hot guy. Sex hormone binding globulin is the literal cock block, vagina block. I don't know. Basically what it does is it is basically like this little Uber driver. It's driving around in your body. It's saying, fuck this person. I'm going to steal all their estrogens, I'm going to steal all their testosterones. I'm going to steal all of their thyroid hormones. So
you don't want it to be too high though, because otherwise you start growing things in places.
Correct, for sure. But it's like, especially just know if you have ever taken hormonal birth control, your sex hormone binding globulin levels can actually still stay elevated, even if you break up with your IUD, you break up with your pill, ring, whatever it is, what have you. Your sex hormone binding globulin levels actually often go up if you're utilizing hormonal birth control. So even if you go off it, it can oftentimes stay elevated. And that was the case for me. It's like, no matter what I do, that shit is still high. And I'm like, bro, I haven't taken the pill literally since I was 28, about to be 34. And we're still over here dealing with this little guy. But same thing, it's going to impact your thyroid levels. It's going to impact your testosterone levels. And so what that might just mean on the thyroid front is if that value is super high and you're working with your doctor, you can't get it down, then you just might have to take more thyroid hormone or something like that. Because again, you just need more in your body because you got this little guy just trying to go steal your wives, steal your girlfriends, your boys, your whatever.
It's Mr. Steal Your Girl.
I was hoping I planted that joke. I was like, pick up what I'm putting down. Other things, basic stuff. It's good to check like your CBC, your metabolic panels. Again, vitamin D. Check your like iron and anemia stuff is so common just because there's so many people that hate eating like red meat or just like everybody's on like the dry ass chicken life and nobody like living and loving the beef and steak and all that stuff. So check your iron, check your ferritin panels. I forget what the abbreviation stands for, but it's like your TIBC. That's a bit like basically like the big 3 if you're trying to check for iron stuff. And that's if you're dealing with like I'm feeling cold all the time, cold fingertips. I'm feeling like lightheaded or, just like low energy week, that's when you want to like check in on kind of all those things. And lastly, you want to check in your fasting blood glucose, your hemoglobin A1C. I actually just like looked at, a friend asked me if I would like glance over her stuff, and her A1C was like in the fours. And I was like, dang, I feel like I never
I
see
don't think
that.
I've
Like
ever seen that low.
that's super
Yeah,
low.
that's
But
super low.
if
Yeah.
I remember, I feel like her husband might be type 1 diabetic. So I'm sure they like kind of keep carbs lower. There was one other topic that I want to hit, and I want to scroll and make sure we didn't.
Well, one thing too, I think you have a lot of resources, don't you? Do you have like all these tests markers that you should get? Because we need a cheat sheet.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe I can throw together a free download. That'd actually be a dope. Let's see if we can make that. Because I definitely have posts. I can go ahead and kind of list off some of my favorite resources. But again, I love Peer to Repair Manual by Laura Bryden. I wish that every single it's like if you have a menstrual cycle, go get you some. It's such insightful and such an empowering read, like truly. Same thing, Hormone Repair Manual is also by Dr. Laura Bryden. And that would be basically your population of like 35 and beyond. So kind of perimenopause, menopause. That book is basically specific for that crowd. There's also Beyond the Pill by Dr. Jolene Brighton. Huge, big fan of Jolene. She's wonderful. Taking Charge of Your Fertility by Tony, I'm going to butcher this name, but it's Weschler. And then if you want to go, those are obviously more like women's health specific, but like I said, it's like we on the same bus. You don't get to just worry about one and not the other. Thyroid specific books, you could check out Adrenal Thyroid Revolution. That is Aviva Round. You could also do Hashimoto's thyroiditis, even if you're like, yo, I don't have, Hashimoto's, but I do have thyroid stuff. Again, we're all talking about it. That would be Isabella Wentz. And then she's also put out Hashimoto's protocol. My disclaimer I always give with this, especially because the population that we are talking to is people that love being active. These books are written for like general population people. So like this is written for like my mom and dad that are like, hi, I don't really work out. I just like live and love life, right? Keep in mind that, these books might give recommendations that don't fit into the paradigm for you because you love working out, you love lifting, you love being active. So whenever you kind of get into any of the chapters that are like, intermittent fasting, go low carb. We ain't doing that, bestie. Like get like that's where you flip those pages really, really fast. So again, like kind of like I'll just say, if you find yourself trying to make some sort of big decision about like, yo, I'm gonna cut carbs, I'm gonna go low carb. Come back to our Instagram, slide in our DMs. Like we would obviously love to advise on that. But I'm really hyped. I think that like it's been a while since we've like gone hard on like a super informational podcast. So I'm so energized right now. Like I don't even need ghost energy.